The laughter echoed through the golden ballroom. Crystal chandeliers reflecting off polished marble floors. Waiters moved swiftly, balancing trays of champagne and caviar. At the far end, near the entryway, stood a young black waitress, barely 22, clutching a silver pitcher of water. A voice, loud enough to silence the background jazz, cut through the air. "Just bring water, sweetie," the event manager barked, straightening his tux. "Don't touch anything else. This is not your world." A few guests chuckled. One of the caterers smirked and muttered, "She's lucky to even be in here." But the girl said nothing. She didn't flinch, didn't blink, just stood there. Her eyes scanned the room, not in fear, but in focus, as if measuring every inch of space. No one knew her name. No one knew what was coming. And certainly, no one knew who really owned this building. Her name was Alana Green, just 22 years old. On the surface, she was just another face in a pressed white shirt, pouring water for people who wouldn't remember her name tomorrow. But behind those observant brown eyes was a brilliant mind, one trained to see opportunity where others only saw ceilings. By day, Alana studied real estate finance at one of the most competitive business schools in the country, the only black girl in her program. At night, she wore flats that hurt her arches and smiled at rude guests to earn tips just to support her grandmother, Miss Ida, the woman who raised her. She wasn't born into privilege. She was born into grit. Alana had learned the value of hard work from the creaky wooden floors of her grandmother's kitchen, where rent was always 2 weeks late, and the power flickered during storms. But Miss Ida taught her one thing. "Baby, when they try to lock the door, you build a new house." And that's what Alana was doing. Quietly, strategically, every table she served, every conversation she overheard, every investment term she absorbed. She was learning. But tonight, something felt different. The guests were louder, the insults sharper, and her patience thinner. She tried to drown it all out and just focus on work. 10 steps to the table, 3 pours, 2 smiles, back to the kitchen. But behind her steady posture, her mind was racing, because just 1 week ago, her world had tilted. Mantelpiece clock, flashback. 1 week earlier, Alana sat across from the university's scholarship advisor, a woman in a sharp blue suit, looked down without meeting her eyes. "I'm sorry, Ms. Green. Your scholarship funding has been reallocated." Reallocated? Alana's voice cracked. "The decision came from a board. Your performance isn't the issue. It's circumstances." She didn't say it, but Alana heard what she meant. Circumstances. A polite way of saying, "You don't fit here." She walked out of that office, back straight, eyes dry, but inside, her plans were collapsing. No scholarship meant no tuition. No tuition meant no future. She'd have to drop out, give up her internship, maybe even move out her grandmother's apartment. The next morning, she'd picked up a double shift. Cityscape present day. Back at the event, the ballroom was alive with laughter and wealth. Deals were being toasted, and names dropped like designer handbags. Alana walked past a group of lawyers laughing over a 6-figure bonus, past the CEO of a real estate firm who once tried to get her grandmother's home condemned to build a parking lot. No one looked at her as a person. She was just the help. But none of them knew that while they were sipping champagne and boasting about owning the city, Alana had been building her own plan in silence. Because Alana wasn't just serving water. She was studying the room, listening to names, identifying faces, memorizing companies. Every event, every shift, she had been gathering knowledge. And just last month, using a quiet inheritance her late mother left behind, she had begun investing. Small properties, then small firms, then one silent stake in the very development company that owned this building. Tonight wasn't just another shift. It was the final test. The clinking of wine glasses filled the air like soft percussion under a jazz band slow groove. Men in sleek black suits spoke in half-laughs and acronyms. I flipped that downtown strip for a 40% return. Just picked up a foreclosure block. South side ripe for flipping. Let the tenants protest. They can't afford lawyers anyway. Alana moved to the sea of money, like a ghost. No one acknowledged her, unless they needed more wine or a napkin. At table 3, a woman in diamonds was loudly discussing her third home in the Hamptons, complaining about how the cleaning lady keeps using lavender instead of eucalyptus. Alana poured sparkling water, eyes down, her name tag crooked but unread. Then came the voice again, cold, arrogant. Waitresses should be seen, not heard. Mr. Travis, vice president of the Delmere Group, one of the most powerful property firms in the city. Broad shoulders, tailored suit, gold cufflinks, and a tongue sharper than any blade. He didn't say it to her. He didn't need to. He said it about her, loud enough that everyone nearby smirked. Alana's hands didn't shake. She finished pouring, nodded politely, and moved on, but her chest was tight. These people bought and sold neighborhoods like shoes. They never looked at the faces behind the walls. Only numbers, percentages, profits. Waxing crescent moon a quiet cry in the hallway during her break. Alana stepped into a dim hallway near the coat check. The voices and violins faded behind thick oak doors. She leaned against the wall, closed her eyes, took a deep breath. Then she heard something, a faint sob. She turned and saw a woman, maybe late 30s, in a silk gown, crouched in the corner, dabbing her eyes with tissue. Alana hesitated. "Ma'am, are you all right?" The woman looked up, startled, then quickly tried to compose herself. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. It's just my father's business. It's being evicted. They're terminating his lease after 25 years, without warning." Alana knelt down slowly beside her. "What business?" "A family bakery on 8th and Monroe. He built it from scratch. My siblings were raised there. But now Delmere Properties says it's not urban modern enough." Alana's breath caught. Delmere? Of course. They were the same group trying to buy out black family businesses and flip the properties to luxury chains. Her grandmother's friend lost her flower shop just last month the same way. The woman sniffled. "He's in the hospital. Stress. I don't even think he knows yet." Alana gently handed her a clean napkin from her apron pocket. "I'm sorry. Truly." "You don't understand," the woman said softly, wiping her eyes. "These people in there, they don't care. They'll never understand what it's like to build something from nothing." Alana stood, her face unreadable. "No, ma'am," she said quietly. "They won't, but maybe someday they'll learn." She walked away before the tears in her own eyes could betray her. Back in the ballroom, Travis raised a glass. "To new beginnings," he said, "and clean slates, especially in real estate." The room laughed. Alana stood at the edge, watching, invisible, unwanted, underestimated, exactly where she needed to be. Because while they laughed about tearing down communities, she had just made a call. The string quartet had just shifted into a soft rendition of Claire de Lune when Travis, now on his third glass of expensive champagne, turned dramatically in his seat, gesturing with flair as he spoke. "Gentlemen, let me tell you, the best investment isn't in property. It's in perception. You make people believe something's valuable, and they'll pay anything." He threw his head back in a smug laugh, but as his hand swept outward mid-story, his crystal flute of champagne tipped, splashing all over the front of his tailored shirt. The laughter around him stopped. Travis's face turned red. He looked around for someone to blame, and his eyes landed on Alana, who had been standing nearby, tray in hand, waiting silently to refill glasses. "Unbelievable," he snapped. "Can't even hold a tray without ruining someone's evening." "Sir, I didn't," she started. "I said clean it up." He cut her off, fast, "or someone else will take your job." The room was silent for a moment. Then a few nervous laughs returned. Alana set down her tray carefully, reached for the cloth tucked into her apron, and kneeled. She wiped the spilled champagne from his shoes first, then his pant leg, then the floor tile by tile. No one offered to help. No one stopped it. Behind her, she heard the whispering. "What a mess. She's lucky to even be working this event. I heard they just grab kids off the street for these gigs now." Alana said nothing, but her hands were trembling slightly as she wiped. Not from fear, from fury. The scent of his cologne, sharp, chemical arrogance, filled her nose. The polish on his shoes reflected her face, bent low, knees pressing against the cold marble floor. But in her mind, she wasn't here anymore. She was back in the cramped one-bedroom apartment she shared with her grandmother, back to the wall where Miss Ida had hung their family photos, every frame crooked but lovingly dusted, back to her mother's funeral, back to the scholarship letter, back to the moment she realized no matter how hard she worked, someone like Travis would always think she was beneath him unless she changed the rules, unless she stopped playing their game and bought the board. Travis stood now, adjusting his jacket dramatically, pretending to laugh it off. See? You pay enough, even the help will bow. The room erupted in forced laughter. Alana stood slowly. She met his eyes for the first time that night. Would you like me to fetch you a fresh glass, sir? She asked softly. Travis smirked. Now you're learning. Alana gave a small nod, turned away, and walked calmly toward the bar. But in her other hand, the one behind her apron, she clutched a folded piece of paper, the wire confirmation, the document that proved the building they were standing in had officially changed hands just 2 hours ago. She didn't look back, didn't flinch, didn't cry. She just smiled, the kind of smile that comes right before a storm. As the orchestra slid into another instrumental piece and laughter filled the ballroom again, Alana stepped quietly through the service door near the kitchen. She moved like smoke, fast, invisible, unnoticed. The hallway behind the kitchen was dim and narrow. Concrete floors, pipes overhead, buzzing fluorescent lights. She pulled out her phone, her fingers trembling not from nerves, but from anticipation. She dialed fast. The moment the call connected, her voice dropped into sharp clarity. It's me. Pull the trigger. I want to buy the building. Today. A pause. Then the voice on the other end responded. It's done, Alana. The wire cleared this morning. You officially own the property and all 11 commercial units inside. She closed her eyes for half a second, not to rest, to absorb, because this wasn't just real estate. This was personal. Mantelpiece clock flashback. 3 years ago, Alana sat in the back of a real estate seminar, the only young black woman in a sea of suits and Rolexes. The speaker was Harold Benton, a quiet legend in the industry, billionaire, investor, owner of half the downtown skyline. Everyone else was there to impress him, but he noticed Alana, scribbling notes, asking sharp questions, challenging outdated concepts. After the session, he called her aside. You think like an owner, he told her, but they'll only ever see the uniform unless you change the rules. That day, he became her mentor. Over the next 3 years, Harold taught her how to build power in silence. He taught her how to track LLCs, find shell corporations, follow shady property deals. Delmere Properties, he once said, they don't buy land, they steal legacies, condemn poor neighborhoods, then resell them at wine bars. Alana started watching them like a hawk. She mapped every acquisition they made in her neighborhood, watched them tear down homes, kill small businesses, evict seniors. So when her mother passed and she inherited a modest insurance payout, she didn't grieve long. She invested, smartly, quietly, anonymously. She bought a 20% stake in a silent partner firm that Delmere had no idea was hers. She flipped a duplex, then a warehouse, then 3 units near the river. And last month, she made an offer on the Crestwell building, the very place she now stood in wearing an apron. Delmere had no idea they were about to be blindsided. Sunglasses present day. Backstage, Alana took a deep breath, folded the wire confirmation, slid it back into her apron pocket. She looked at herself in a small mirror on the wall. Her curls frizzed from the heat, her uniform stained from champagne, her eyes red from holding back tears. But she smiled anyway. Let them keep underestimating me, she whispered. That's when I'm most dangerous. She turned and walked back toward the ballroom. But this time, she didn't walk like a waitress. She walked like an owner. Crystal glasses clinked. Silverware tapped against plates, and soft music faded as the crowd's attention turned toward the stage. Mr. Travis, ever the showman, took center position at the mic. His champagne-stained shirt had been swapped for a clean one. His ego, however, remained untouched. He straightened his cufflinks and smirked at the audience. Tonight marks a powerful milestone, he began. Delamere Properties is proud to announce that we have officially acquired the legendary Cresswell Building, a jewel of the downtown skyline. And now ours. The room erupted in applause. People stood to cheer. Even the mayor gave a subtle nod from the back. But before Travis could continue, the ballroom doors opened. A suited man, mid-50s, salt and pepper hair, carrying a leather briefcase, strode in confidently. He walked straight up to the stage. "Excuse me," he said, voice calm but firm. "Correction." The applause died immediately. "This building," the man continued, "was purchased this morning at 9:12 a.m. Eastern Time. Full wire confirmation, legal transfer, title registration, and ownership now belongs to—" He unfolded a document and held it up. "Ms. Alana Green." Gasps, audible. Every head in the room turned in slow motion toward the back, where Alana now stood. No apron, no tray. She had removed her uniform jacket, revealing a sleek black dress beneath. Elegant, minimal, powerful. She stepped forward, heels clicking against marble like a countdown. Her shoulders square, her chin high, eyes locked on Travis. She didn't speak at first. She didn't need to. The silence screamed. She stepped up onto the stage. Travis's face drained of color. Alana took the mic. "You told me to serve water," she said softly, "in a building I now own." The room went dead quiet. No violin, no chatter, just awe and guilt. She turned to the audience. "Some of you laughed. Some of you ignored me. Some of you believed I didn't belong here." She looked straight at Travis. "And some of you still think ownership comes in one color." Then she smiled, not smugly, but with quiet power. "Let me show you what legacy really looks like." Alana let the silence linger a moment longer, her gaze sweeping across the stunned crowd. She could see it all in their eyes now, recognition, regret, and disbelief. She turned back to Mike, voice calm, each word sharp as glass. "You told me to serve water in a building that now belongs to me." The weight of that truth settled across the room like a thundercloud. "You told me I didn't belong here. You laughed when I was blamed for something I didn't do. You watched me kneel to clean champagne from a man's shoes and said nothing." She turned to Travis, who stood frozen near the curtain, eyes darting like a cornered rat. "You belittled me. You mocked my presence. You led a firm that evicts families, guts communities, and calls it growth." She paused, letting the gasps ripple again. "Effective immediately, Mr. Travis. You're relieved of your duties as building manager and Delamere's on-site executive liaison." A few people clapped. Then more. The applause began to swell. "The bakery on 8th and Monroe, it stays. The flower shop on Jefferson, it returns. And the cleaning staff who were fired last month for cost cuts will receive back pay and rehire letters by Monday." Now the crowd was on its feet. People who had ignored her hours earlier were applauding her now, not out of guilt, but out of awe. Travis tried to speak. You can't just—" "I can," Alana said, cutting him off. "I own this building, and I've already signed the termination paperwork." Security moved quietly toward Travis. He opened his mouth to protest again, but the crowd was already turning away. Toward her, Alana stepped down from the stage. A few hands reached out to shake hers. Some whispered, "I'm sorry." She nodded politely, gracious but firm. But she wasn't here for apologies. She was here for justice. 2 days later, the Cresswell Building looked different, not because of the walls or windows, but because of who walked through its doors. Where once the atmosphere was cold, exclusive, untouchable, now it buzzed with hope. In the lobby, the elderly janitor who had quietly worked late nights for 20 years stood stunned, holding a crisp white envelope. Alana smiled as she handed it to him. "Mr. Darnell," she said, "you're not cleaning floors anymore. You're now the building manager. Full benefits. Office on the 2nd floor." The old man blinked. "Me? But I never even—" "You never asked for credit," she said softly. but you always earned it. Downstairs, the front doors opened, and the crying woman from the hallway walked in, holding her father's arm. Tears streamed down both their faces as they looked at the corner office where their bakery used to stand. "Welcome back," Alana said, smiling. "Lease is reinstated, and rent's been reduced for legacy tenants." The woman hugged her without a word. Later that evening, Alana stepped out onto the rooftop. The city skyline glittered around her, but her eyes were on one small figure in the distance, Miss Ida, her grandmother, sitting in a warm but clean armchair on the terrace of their apartment. She FaceTimed her. "Hey, baby," Miss Ida smiled. "You done with work?" Alana grinned. "No, Nana, I'm just getting started." "What you mean?" Alana turned the phone to show the lobby below, filled with returning shopkeepers, smiling workers, music in the air. "We own it now, Nana. The whole building." Miss Ida stared, then placed a hand over her heart. "Your mama would be so proud." Alana looked out at the night. Where once she'd been treated like she didn't belong, now she held the keys. And the people who once walked past her without seeing her, they now walked through doors she opened. Narrator's voice softens as the camera pans over the glowing skyline, Alana watching from the rooftop, wind brushing her curls. Sometimes the ones who say the least are building the most. Sometimes the girl pouring your water is planning a takeover. And sometimes power doesn't look like a suit or a last name. It looks like silence, focus, grace. The screen fades to black. Then her voice echoes one last time. "Next time you see someone in uniform, remember, they might just own the ground you're standing on."